Hey y'all, it's Laura and welcome back to a new series called Budget Scrapbooking. And the way this series is going to work is we're going to explore some low-cost options for scrapbooking. And for me, that means picking a 12 by 12 paper pad. I'm going to be using this one, which is Paige Evans Whimsical, because it has a lot of icons, a nice bright open color scheme, and cut aparts in the paper pad. So it does not have to be a giant paper pad by any stretch of the imagination. I think this one only has 30 some odd pages in it. Not too bad. If you have a smaller paper pad, that will work as well. You won't need to use all of the papers inside. But those are the qualifications I would use when choosing a paper pad for this series if you want to join in. Now, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be making some DIY embellishments from this paper pad and then scrapping with them. So putting together a small kit and then creating 4 to 5 layouts with that kit. So I hope you enjoy this little series, and let's head over to the desk to see what we're going to be working on today. Today we are going to be working with my budget scrapbooking kit again, and I know that I have disappeared a little over the last 6 weeks. Yeah, it's been about 6 weeks, almost 2 months now that I've been off of YouTube, and it wasn't intentional. It was not an intentional break. I actually got caught up at the first half of December with a new hobby. And if you're anything like me and get distracted by fun new things and tend to obsess about the new thing for a while, that's exactly what happened the first half of December. And then I had all of my kids home for the second half of December for Christmas break. We had 2.5 weeks of Christmas break, and I cannot accomplish anything with them around. My creative brain just turns off, and I don't have the quiet time or the energy to edit and voiceover. So I just decided December was going to have to be a bit of a wash. Now, we came back in January. They went back to school for a whole week, and I recorded a couple of videos, and then we got snowed in, sort of. Iced in, maybe, would be the better description. Either way, school was canceled for the entirety of last week, and I didn't have any time or energy to do those voiceovers and editing, so they're getting done now. I have a couple of videos coming ahead for you guys over the next probably a week and a half or so that I'm going to share, finishing off this kit, and I've had a little bit of fun with it, but also am really interested in how far this kit ended up stretching. I anticipated only doing about 4 layouts with this kit, and I ended up doing 5. I've had 5 done, and I think I could get at least 2 or 3 more if I wanted to. And so I'm trying to decide if I want to keep working with this kit until it's just gone, or just go ahead and pack it up with the rest of the collection and move on to something new. So we'll see what I decide. I'm going to give myself another week to sort that out. But I do have a few videos coming up for you guys to see how this kit got used. I do appreciate all of the calls and messages that I got from a couple of friends and from my friends here on YouTube. And I appreciate it. Yes, I am fine. I'm all good. I tried to pop into social media a little bit to let you guys know that I was alive. All was good. But we're just crazy busy around here. Single mom life is a little bit more hectic than it was when I wasn't single. So doing the parenting thing on my own has been more of a challenge, and especially in finding time for my hobbies, it's been a big challenge. But I am enjoying my new hobby, which is crocheting, and I've done a whole blanket in 2 months. I've done a whole blanket already, and that is the level of hyperfixation that happened in late November, early December. But we're getting back on track. I think hopefully the kids will be back in school the rest of this week. I can get caught up on a few things that I want to do, that I would enjoy doing and have the energy to do. And voiceovering will be one of those things. So yes, I'm excited to get back into scrapbooking as well. Now for this layout, I decided to use a lot of these, what would be the branding pieces or the manufacturing strips on the papers. Now these all came from paper pads, so they don't really have manufacturing strips, but they do have that like little hole-filled strip at the top where they connect to the paper pad, and so that's what I'm using to back these hearts. Now if you remember from the kit we put together with this paper pad, We cut these hearts out of some wood grain paper using my heart-shaped dies, and they are just layered dies, or layered hearts. And when you run the die machine over all of the hearts layered together, it creates these lovely little frames. And so we are going to do this pretty simple 9x12 layout using all of these scrap bits of paper to back my lovely hearts. And it's going to be a fairly quick and easy design, but it's one that uses up those scraps and that I really enjoy. I call this a scattered design because the background isn't one whole piece. It's not layered blocks of paper, right? It's scattered shapes. And that is a design that I personally love and have been using for a very long time. And I often will go in a diagonal with the scattered shapes, but this one more or less goes from the top to the bottom. It has a slight lean, if you will, to it, starting at the top left and heading down to the bottom right, but it is so gradual that I think it's really more of a vertical scattering. And these lovely hearts I mixed in with some punched hearts using some of the scraps in my kit. Just kind of brought those in and tucked those in together. I'm going to bring in my embellishment tray pretty soon to show you how I'm going to incorporate those fussy cut florals and the fussy cut icons that we're using as ephemera from this paper pack, because the whole concept of this kit was to simply use the paper pad and to see how far I could stretch it, to see if I could use it as a full kit to do a handful of layouts. And honestly, it created so much. Part of that is because this is a Paige Evans paper pad, and she is the same kind of scrapbooker that I am. We have a very similar style, I think, and I definitely think that we like a lot of the same things. And so her collections are very easy for me to use, and her paper pads are full of icons you can fussy cut. They usually have a cut apart. They usually have some word phrases or titles that you can cut out and use. And so it's a very versatile designer to work with. And so I would definitely think that if you're going to pick a paper pad for this, choosing a Paige Evans one is a good choice. Choosing any of the, like Vicky Booten is another great option. She has a lot of very usable, versatile designs in her paper pads as well. A lot of the American Crafts I find are set up that way. So if you have an American Crafts designer styled paper pad, that should work for you pretty well. But for this particular layout, I did decide to use that stitched title that we made in the early part of this series. If you've missed that, be sure to check the playlist that this is in. It's called Budget Scrapbooking, and it has all of the lovely videos that we did creating some DIY embellishments, creating some titles, and how those came to be. This inspired title is hand stitched, and then I cut it out, and then the beauty underneath was cut out with my little die alphabets. So I did not bring in anything really with this kit. I think I ended up at some point bringing in some little enamel shapes. I don't remember if it was this layout or the next one. Maybe this one, maybe the next one, I'm not really sure. But I did bring in a couple of enamel shapes into one of them just because I wanted something that wasn't paper and got a little bored with the paper. So you definitely can stretch everything out into a paper pad only kit, but I personally do enjoy bringing in some things that aren't paper. So I do end up doing that at some point, but I don't remember if it was this layout or if it was the next one, because they both had a bit of a heart theme happening with them, I believe. Now here is my embellishment tray. This has, of course, the fussy cut florals that we cut out of one of the pieces of paper. It has the butterflies that I cut out from another piece of paper, and then those little word phrases at the top from yet another piece of paper. So the whole tray is filled with fussy cut embellishments. I have a couple of titles left underneath that little bowl of butterflies from our earlier videos, but my intention is to definitely use up the DIY embellishments we made and all of the titles, and once I do that, I think I will be perfectly happy with calling this kit done for now, and I can just pack it away and use it with this collection later on. I did have a lot of fun with this series, but with this particular layout, I think my favorite part was this little moment here where I was able to kind of squeeze some of these little craft supplies onto the title here at the end, and that seemed to work out really, really well. I love how that turned out with some little paintbrushes and pens and paint and tape, and I think that turned out really, really cute, this nice little cluster of art supplies. Now, these two photos are of one of my kiddos, and she's a big fan of drawing, and so she has a number of drawing options in our house. I like to encourage my kids to express their creativity however they like. So long as they clean up after themselves afterwards, I don't mind a little bit of a mess. And this was a less messy one. This was just some markers and things. And I love to celebrate that little bit of creativity when I can, especially in their albums. And this particular child is a huge fan of sketching, drawing, painting, all of the creative things. And so quite a bit of her album, because each of my kids have their own set of albums, is devoted to those creative pursuits. Now you'll notice I'm leaving a little bit of space here underneath of the title, and that is because I intend to add some journaling there, and so I'm trying to think ahead and give myself a little bit of space just there to draw in some lines. I use my T-square ruler for that, and I'm a huge fan of the T-square ruler. I think it is one of the most handy tools you can have in scrapbooking, just to draw in some lines to help you with outlines. You can use outlines all the way around the outside of the layout. I don't end up doing it on this layout, which is unusual, but I just didn't think it needed it apparently, because I didn't do it. And I love the way this one turned out. It was simple, it was quick, and it was fun. And using up all those scraps always makes me feel very satisfied. There's just something within my heart that loves using up as much paper as possible on a layout. This is the reason I don't do a lot of mixed media, is because I really enjoy paper. I love pattern paper. This background paper is an ombre style paper, so it's a little heavier at the top and a little lighter at the bottom, and just something about pattern paper makes me happy. And so I will choose 9 times out of 10 to use paper instead of mixed media or any other kind of media in my backgrounds. And like I said, this is a very simple design. It is just a very quick and easy layout, and I do hope you've enjoyed watching it. I am outlining a lot of the bits and pieces just to give them a little bit more definition on the page, and particularly my title. So my title is cut out of a wood grain paper. This was the only thing that I added to the paper pad, was this a tiny little 6x6 piece of wood grain paper, because I wanted to create some faux wood embellishments using this, the back of the paper pad, so like the cardboard, chipboard back of the paper pad, and then this wood grain paper. But I also cut a title out of it. And so I think the title and the little frames in the background come together quite nicely. Reached into my drawer and pulled out these gold glitter hearts. So these are leftover bits and pieces when I buy a piece of glitter paper. I will often take a little section that's left over from cutting out some frames, cutting out some shapes, or using it to back photos, and I'll use those little scraps and punch out some tiny hearts and stars just to make sure I'm getting all of my money's worth out of glitter paper, because that is so expensive. And so this is not technically part of the paper pad, but you could skip this part if you wanted to. I just like to add a little bitty scattering of something different on the layout. And I do not do fully paper layouts most of the time. And so having all of these paper elements with no puffy stickers, no wood veneer, no nothing else, I decided it needed just a little something, so I did bring in some little glitter hearts, not many, but a few, just to add a little sparkle to the page. Finishing it off with the same scattering and splattering concepts here. Again, those little gold hearts were my scattering, and for splattering, I'm going to use some white Nouveau this time, and then I'm going to come in with some gold ink spray to splatter a little bit more wild and loosely around the outside edges of the page. If you have any questions, be sure to put them in the comments below. I have more videos for you coming up this week, and I do hope you've enjoyed it. Until next time, bye y'all.